Welcome everybody. As we happy birthday for the Rebbe, or the 118th birthday. Yud of Nisan, the 11th day of Nisan. So 118. Those who say the Rebbe's capital, the Rebbe's Tehillim chapter. Now it's the chapter 119, since the 118th birthday. So starting chapter 119 is the longest chapter in Tehillim, but the most, let's say, very significant chapter in Tehillim. It has 8, it goes by the alphabetical order, has 8 verses in each, on each letter. 8 verses in each, I believe it's 176 psukim verses in total. A very important chapter. The Alter Rebbe actually wrote to say this chapter every Shabbos. For some reason, I didn't see a lot of people do it, but it's written somewhere the custom was to, Alter Rebbe instituted that it should be read every Shabbos. Now we can read it every day in honor of the Rebbe. We're going back to our subject, laws of Pesach. Preparing for Pesach. So we know that during the month of Nisan, before the morning of the 14th, we discussed you need to go to rabbi to sell your chametz, make a kinyan, and they'll make a kinyan. This year it's probably going to be done differently since people are not coming to the rabbi. Lift the garment, cloth, whatever it is, and sell your chametz. The rabbi sells the chametz to a goy. It has its own way of doing it. It's called Arab Kablun. Becomes a guarantor. And the places that you sold to a goy, you should close them. You should write on it sold for Pesach, and make a note. I have a little chart. Sold for Pesach, sold for Passover. Thank you for Mr. Beam for arranging the paper. So you put everything away and put it in a cabinet, in a pantry. That pantry should not be entered on Pesach. Well, if you have to go there, you have permission to go there to get something, but as long as everything is closed and you're not touching it, you just need to get something else. You're allowed to open that pantry, but the main thing is it should be done with in such a way that you don't have to touch it the whole Pesach. You close it and you write sold for Pesach. Now the time of burning the chametz we learned is on the 14th. Early in the morning, you have to eat early. Get rid of all the chametz by the 4th hour, which is about 10:30. Around that time, you should get rid of all the chametz. Then you should burn the chametz. And when we burn the chametz, we have a special prayer that we say. And you need to understand what you're saying when you're nullifying the chametz. Okay, so that was already discussed. Now, I want to speak a little bit about the laws of actually customs, the Chabad customs. There's many customs, what we call hidurim. Like hidurim is like becoming scrupulous, adding to make sure that we're very careful with not touching chametz. The reason why we have hidurim in general. The word hidu means to beautify. You beautify the mitzvah, you add to the mitzvah, you try to be more careful with the mitzvah of Pesach. And the main thing of Pesach is to stay away from chametz, from leaven. You shouldn't see it, it should not be in your possession. So we are very careful with getting rid of that. And obviously the mitzvahs of Pesach, or the first night, is to eat the matzah, to drink the 4 cups of wine, to read the Haggadah, to teach your children, to read the story of the Haggadah. But then there is the hidurim, the adding the things that we add, each one according to his custom and according to what was done in his parents' house, or things that he took upon himself. But we know that the Arizal, statement of the Arizal, that if you're very careful with chametz and Pesach, you'll promise not to sin the whole year. So there is support to these hidurim to be extra careful when it comes to Pesach. Also, we know that is a law that, for example, in the laws of meat and dairy, if a little piece of meat fell into a dairy pot or vice versa, and it's dissolved and you can't see it, if there's 60 times the amount, it's nullified. So if you have 60 times the amount of meat and a little bit of dairy fell into the meat, it's nullified by the excessive amount of meat. When it comes to chametz, it doesn't work that way. So even a tiny piece of chametz it's not nullified. So that we see that there's we're very stringent when it comes to chametz. So that's why there's these hidurim, these added things that we add to make sure that we don't come to chametz. So what are the hidurim that Chabad have? What is the custom of Chabad? So the custom is not to use different types of spices. Some of them is cinnamon, horseradish, garlic, and those, some don't use sugar, some use sugar, but those that are using sugar on Pesach, they sift it before Pesach, or maybe if there is a crumb of chametz, it should be taken out before. And some also try to avoid all these spices because maybe there's some kind of chametz that fell into it. The like, miss you too, Jacques. Jacques, miss you too. Our custom is to peel vegetables and fruits. Maybe some chametz is on the peel, sticking to the peel, so we get rid of it. Also, there are who are very scrupulous about to cook as many dishes before Pesach. So if anything was mixed into this dish, if any chametz, so it's being nullified in the beginning before, because when you nullify the chametz, you nullify everything up to that point. So if all the food was ready then, everything is being nullified. But again, this is not something that everyone have to do. It depends on what you're accustomed to do and what you are capable of doing. It still has to be Yom Tov for everyone, and Yom Tov means a time of festivity, time of joy. And if you overdo it, you might not truly enjoy the Yom Tov. So you have to find the right balance of the things what you're capable of taking upon yourself. Obviously, the more you beautify the mitzvah, the better it is. But it still needs to be done in a normal way, not to throw the burden on other people. Some say that the Rebbe said that dust is not chametz and your wife is not a slave. I didn't see it written, but I heard the statement. It makes sense. Dust is not chametz. Your wife is not a slave. So if you want to add things on Pesach, you're more than welcome to do it yourself. If you don't want to use oil, you don't want to use sugar, you want to start making these ingredients yourself, it's your own thing. But in general, we try to be very careful with chametz to make sure that nothing is mixed. And then we know the custom of different communities about kitnias. What is kitnias? Those who eat rice, beans, and the like. So the custom is that Chabad custom is not to eat kitnias. We know that it's also with Moroccans, I believe, don't eat kitnias. There's certain communities that do eat. It's not across the board that all Sfardim would eat kitnias, would eat these different kinds of grains, because there's a concern that maybe these kitnias, this rice, would come into contact with one of the 5 species of grain, which are chametz, wheat, barley, spelt, oat, and rye. So if you would eat kitnias, you might come into contact with these with these 5 species of grain. So that's a concern on its own, and therefore we in Chabad we don't eat rice, don't eat corn, we don't eat lentils, chickpeas, sesame, mustard, peanuts, and the like. According to the Mechaber, B'Seisef, Moran B'Seisef, there's no problem with eating kidneys. But Chabad custom, many have the custom to stay away from these things. Some say for even if this is your custom, but for children or for someone that is not feeling good and he needs these food, if the rabbi can give him, maybe a rabbi can say that he can do it. If the family, if this is the custom of the family not to eat, and you want your child to eat, you should ask a rabbi if it's okay for him to eat. And those who also are those who make sure not to use all the utensils for that you're using during the week or during the regular year, using them for Pesach. Try not to mix the two, the utensils of Pesach and the utensils for the week. Also, there are those who are careful not to eat dry fruits, because some of these fruits, like figs, some of them are being dried with flour. That's part of the process. Not all of them, but some of them, the process is to do it with flour. So that's, and raisins that are being dried up with flour. So we have all these things that we try to stay away from. Obviously, there's more hidurim. There's many more beautifications to the mitzvah that are being done at by different communities. The most important thing is to stay away from chametz, not to eat anything that leavened or any concern, any possible chametz. If it says kosher Pesach, it's kosher Pesach, and try to stick to that. And if you can add, you should add. Tova lecha bocha, as we say, you should be blessed if you're capable of adding. But the main thing is to try to have joy on Yom Tov, to be not joy just to have joy yourself, but make other people joyful. We learned before, it's your wife, get her something. If your children, make sure they're happy, that they have also something to be. That Yom Tov is something enjoyable for everyone, and hopefully we'll have the ultimate joy when we see Mashiach coming on this Yom Tov. So we'll have the ultimate simcha. I'm going to make another video on Tanya of the day, so stick with us. That will follow with the daily Parsha insight and Yaakov. See you soon.